What's Your Position podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. On part 1 of today's Afternoon Delight, we'll be discussing non-hormonal birth control. Do you guys want to hear a joke?
Absolutely.
Duh.
Okay, if a stork represents birth, what bird represents birth control?
If a stork represents birth, what bird represents birth control?
God, it'd be
It's right in front of you.
like the blue-footed booby.
A swallow.
Oh, man. That should have
And now, with love from Huntington Beach, your host, Ashley
was,
Weller.
been teed up.
I
We
told
missed
you the
that.
jokes were really bad for this one.
Oh, my God.
Welcome, fellow humans, to an Afternoon Delight. Pew. Afternoon Delight. We are
Surprised we didn't get that.
We'll make an intro.
We're doing an Afternoon Delight on birth control. We got 3 episodes in the chamber for you. First one being non-hormonal birth control. Afternoon Delight part 2 is going to be hormonal birth control. Hor.
Love them.
And Afternoon Delight part 3, we're going to talk to people about the birth control methods that they have used. I've got some stories of people who have had vasectomies that we will be playing for you on the 3rd Afternoon Delight. And we will talk to some people who have had birth control options, hormonal and otherwise. So stay tuned, stick around. This is kind of an effort by us to educate you on things that may or may not be available in your area. For example, there was a website, reproductiverights.gov, that had been put up during the Biden administration to help individuals understand their rights under Title X, which is a program the government runs to support reproductive health care, which includes things like birth control, contraceptives, condoms, STI testing, and abortion. Also, where you can find places in your area to receive reproductive health care. And it was shut down recently by the new administration. And that website has since been brought back by an incredible organization. I'm going to give you that information here. Give me 1 second. It's all the way at the very top of my 60-page document. Not even kidding. The Skim, that's SKIMM.com, actually went ahead and got a website called reproductiverights.gov, DOTGOV.com. So
It's like thefear.com.
Right. So reproductive, that's exactly what I'm going. That's perfect. They just went ahead and went to the Internet Archives because the internet saves everything. And they just went ahead, copied and pasted the information from reproductiverights.gov and turned it into reproductiverights.gov.com for your viewing pleasure. You could also go to sexual and reproductive health services.com. That's opa.hhs.gov, and look up areas that service your reproductive needs. Unfortunately, that is the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm not 100% certain. At the time that we recorded this episode, it was still ran by a sane individual, so I can't say for certain that it will still be available to you by the time this episode airs. What I would suggest is that you search for Planned Parenthoods in your area if you are in need of low-income services for reproductive health, or you just search reproductive healthcare services in my area. And if you are concerned about doing so, I would search in an incognito window. Right now, up to 20% of females seeking reproductive health are in what we call contraceptive deserts, meaning that there is not a reproductive. Yeah, where's that sound from?
I'm in a glass case.
That's not the one. That's not it.
God.
Wait, hold on. There we go.
Jesus Christ.
They're in contraceptive deserts, meaning that there is not a reproductive health care facility within 200 miles of them, which is really upsetting. God. So imagine if you don't have a car, right? And you need condoms, truly. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about non-hormonal types of birth control, which can include barrier methods, reversible methods, sterilization, applied or applicators that include things like vaginal gels and spermicide, and then fertility awareness methods. So these are going to be things that you can utilize that you do not need a prescription for in most cases, and then also things that you can do that don't even require that you go to the doctor. It just requires that you understand your fertility awareness. So when you're going to have a period. And then in the next episode, we will cover a lot more in detail all different types of birth control. So I wanted to give a little bit of history about the types of birth control that have been used in ancient times. Back in, Mesopotamia.
Back in the old days,
I guess. Mesopotamia, Egyptian, 16th century BCE, women actually used an acacia tree mixed with honey and dates. They soaked cotton or plant fiber and inserted it into their vagine like a tampon. It was more effective than you might think. Actually, acacia gum ferments into lactic acid, which can act as a type of spermicide, which is pretty cool. Silphium, used by Egyptians, Romans, and Greeks. It's a fennel-like plant used to ease bloated stomachs. They also drank the juice once a month for a natural contraceptive. They would also put wool-soaked fabric of the plant, soaked in that plant's juice, into their vaginas to prevent pregnancy. In addition, sneezing.
Okay.
Greek gynecologist Soranus, who treated women in ancient Rome, wrote that when a man ejaculates into his female partner, she needs to sneeze in order to get rid of semen from the woman's body. I'm going to go ahead and just let you all know right now that does not work.
That's some crazy timing, too.
Liquid lead.
how do you make yourself?
Sticking something up your nose.
I like inhaling.
So like a
some
fucking
pepper.
feather as your
Yeah, or inhaling like a spice.
fucking coordination on that. That's
Right?
Timing is
Wild.
everything there. To reduce fertility, Chinese women, usually prostitutes or concubines, drank lead, mercury, and arsenic.
Jesus
that's-
Christ.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
in order
God.
to prevent.
not only gonna not have a kid, but
Damn.
you're also gonna be dead.
You're also going to die. Crocodile shit. Ancient Egyptian women actually used crocodile excrement. They mixed the feces with fermented dough and would sprinkle them to their vulvas and inside their vaginal canals to block sperm. Some researchers actually believe that the alkaline nature of the feces could have actually killed the sperm, but
then also gave you dysentery.
Yeah, Jesus.
It also really made people sick because you're putting shit in your vagina. So please don't do that. Another one was juniper berries. So just pour some gin up in there. Men and women who crush juniper berries and smear them all over their genitals. The contraceptive idea of juniper berries is up for debate, but some researchers believe that it may have interfered with conception by decreasing the likelihood of implantation. So the sperm would still reach the egg, but not necessarily make it to implantation onto the vaginal wall, the uterine lining. Another way of preventing birth or preventing fertilization was women used to take Lysol, the household cleaning product, and use it as a douche. And squirt Lysol up into
Please
their vaginal
don't douche.
canal.
It's not good for you.
After intercourse. And this was used by a lot of women because it was an easily accessible product in the home, and they did not have to tell their partners that they were using it.
That sounds like I'm stinging.
No, it sounds awful.
Ow.
No, do not do that. Do not fucking do that at all. 99% of sexually active women between the ages of 15 and 44 have used at least one type of contraceptive method. This includes condoms. This also includes the rhythm method. And that is because people want to make sure they do not have babies.
What's the rhythm method?
We'll talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Feel the rhythm.
Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. Get on
Come on.
up. Come on
It's
in.
bobsled time.
No, it is not. 40% of all pregnancies in the United States are unplanned.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes
I
sense.
just heard a story of a friend who got pregnant and was on birth control.
that happens.
And it does happen. It's not like you're... Anyway.
Yeah.
Could it be a missed pill, or could that just
Oh, yeah.
be?
No, they're on an implant.
Oh, God.
Ooh. Well, that's.
I think they've had it in for a while though.
Oh, maybe
I don't
past
know.
the
I don't know this
expiration
person very well, but that's all I heard.
Wild.
Interesting. Okay. And then just as an FYI, we're going to talk about the cost as well of different types of birth control when we get there. So let's break down a couple of different types of barrier methods. So the first barrier method that we're going to talk about is condoms. Condoms are something that a lot of people use. You know it. You have used them. You've heard about them. You can buy them at 7-Eleven. You can buy them at the 99-cent store. Please understand that you get what you pay for. So condoms, they make male and female type condoms that you can utilize. Male condoms are the types that are worn on the outside of the body. They are always worn on a penis or a phylactic being, so you can put a male condom onto a dildo or a vibrator. It is a thin sheath, thin sheath, often made of latex, that individuals wear over their penises during sex to keep semen from getting inside of a person's body. They are about 82% effective at preventing pregnancy, and that is because of human error. If they are used consistently and correctly, which means every time and using it perfectly, they are 98% effective. Couple pros and cons. Condoms are the only form of birth control that not only prevent STIs, but prevent pregnancy as well.
Yeah.
It's the only form of birth control that does both. They're easy to find in stores.
Yeah.
They're easy to get
Very
online.
accessible.
If you go to a health clinic, they'll usually just hand you a doggy bag of free condoms. And if you take my human sexuality class, I provide you condoms as well.
Yes.
You don't need a prescription to buy them. You can buy them at any time and very little preparation. You have to follow the instructions very, very carefully for them to be effective. I will tell you they expire.
Yes,
so
that's a big thing.
they will break if it's past the expiration date.
They will break before the
During that,
expiration.
yeah, too. Especially if you have rough sex or if you're not using enough lubrication. You definitely want to make sure you are using a lot of lube when you get a condom, even if the condom says it is already
And
lube.
not oil based.
And not, thank you so much. So smart, babe. No oil-based lubricants. So no baby oil, no coconut oil, no olive oil, no whipped cream. Sorry, honey. No oil-based because it'll eat right through the latex. I do a demonstration in classes where I'll blow the condom up like a balloon and then I'll rub baby oil on the outside of it and it pops within about 5 seconds because oil eats through latex.
Yeah. Also, the way that you store your condoms can really
excellent point. Yeah.
affect, because if you keep your condom in a wallet, for example,
Or in your car,
it rubbing together like that friction will wear a hole in it.
and if you put it in your car and your car gets hot, you could actually shorten the life of the condom. You also want to make sure that you use a condom that's the right size for you. You do not need to buy Magnum condoms. As a matter of fact, there was a class action lawsuit because Magnum condoms were actually the same size as regular condoms. They were just
so funny.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That's
So just
amazing.
make sure that you are using them consistently and correctly. They are the easiest and most accessible form of birth control that prevents against STIs and pregnancy. Go condoms. Woo!
Woo!
Female condoms are a latex lubricated tube that you put inside the vaginal canal.
It's a reverse condom.
It's a reverse condom, right? So it goes into the
Have
vaginal
you guys
canal.
ever used one before?
No, I don't think I have ever actually seen one.
I've seen
used to
them,
show-
I think, in a class, but I've
Yeah.
never. I
I
don't
used
think
to
I've ever
show it
used
in
one.
class. It's kind of like, did you ever go have one of those toys as a kid that was like a tunnel that you could crawl through?
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's got these flexible rings at either end. One end is completely
Secret
closed
tunnel.
off, and the other end is open. And if you think about the vaginal canal, you would put the tube into the vaginal canal with the closed end up against the cervix, and then the penis or finger would go in, and the vaginal canal technically would be lined with latex. The problem is they're very large
Yeah, I
and they're
was
very
gonna say.
wrinkly. And so it completely desensitizes the vaginal canal and the opening from any sort of pleasure during sex. And it's also very easy for a penis to push it down and go above it
And
or
also,
below it or to the side of it. So
The
it's
vaginal canal is not that long.
no,
How do you know, like on average, how long?
4 inches
Okay.
is average.
Average for
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of material to be up in there, as well as fingers or a penis or a dildo. It's kind of a lot.
It's a lot going on. In a given year, 1 in 5 women who use female condoms will get pregnant. Female condoms, like male condoms, protect against STIs and pregnancy. You can buy them in drugstores and online. They may not be a good choice if you are having a lot of sex and have a high chance of getting pregnant. And you have to use it correctly every single time for it to be effective. And they're only about 60% effective because it's really difficult to use them correctly. Moving on to surgical methods. Actually, I kind of want to go back to, so barrier methods. I also feel like there are a couple of other things that we should talk about. A diaphragm. Not everybody uses this. This is very old school. Diaphragms were used all the way back early in the early 1900s. It was non-hormonal. You could go and get one fitted by a doctor, but you do have to get it fitted by a doctor. It fits your cervix. I'm making a little circle with my hands. It fits your cervix perfectly.
Wow.
So
it just goes right on your cervix.
Yeah, so you insert it like you would insert a tampon by hand or the Nuva ring if you're using that type of birth control. But you pinch it, you fold it, and you put it into the vaginal canal, and it sort of just suction cups itself up against the cervix and basically makes it difficult for sperm to get past the cervical wall, which is what we want. We don't want we want sperm to die inside the vagina. Die in the vagina. It blocks the semen from entering the womb. Yeah, so you have to go to a doctor to get a
That's
diaphragm.
crazy. I'm getting my diaphragm fitted.
That's exactly right. And then it comes in this cute little package. And
I thought you just
like a retainer.
went and got one of those at like CVS.
No,
That's nuts.
No,
Wow.
you actually have to go to the doctor to get one of those.
That makes sense though. It's because I was like, what? It's not a one size fits all thing.
No, right?
So that makes
everyone's
way much more sense.
Everyone's vaginal canal is different. Everyone's cervix size is different. If you use a diaphragm correctly with spermicide, you have a 6% chance of getting pregnant within that year, but you have to use it every time you have sex. The odds double, though, if you don't use it exactly correctly, which is common. I mean, human error is huge.
And also, like, you're in the heat of the moment.
Okay, so that's
knock it to the side.
Right.
So that's one of the cons is you have to carry your diaphragm with you everywhere you go. It comes in a little case like a retainer.
Can you carry it in your back pocket? Wait, you guys don't have pockets, so never mind that.
Yeah, women having pockets. What's wrong with you?
You guys don't have. What am I talking about?
You have to put it in. So, like, if you're in the heat of the moment, you have to stop and say, "I have to go put in my diaphragm." So you have to put it in.
I feel like at least a condom can be a little hot. You know?
Right.
Like, let me put that on for you because you clearly don't know how to do it yourself.
Let me put your diaphragm in for you. Does that fit right, baby? Yeah. It's reusable for up to a year. If you decide that you want to get pregnant, all you have to do is stop using it. There's no side effects. There's no long-term effects with a diaphragm. It will not prevent STIs. And then you have to leave it in. This is probably the most frustrating part for at least 8 hours after sex.
What?
Oh, shit.
Well, the sperm are still in there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they live in there for up to 3 days.
Oh, that's crazy.
Damn.
Also, diaphragms are more likely to cause urinary tract and vaginal yeast infection.
Oh, so if you're already somebody who's prone to that, it might not be
the best option for you. A cervical cap is also similar to a diaphragm. You must be fitted with one. It fails about 20% of the time, so that's not ideal.
Does it feel? I don't know if you've ever had one of these.
Have not.
But okay. Have you ever had those like for menstruation, the cups that you put in there?
Right, the Diva cups.
It's supposed to, but not a Diva cup. It's more
I know what you're
disc
talking about.
shaped.
Disc shaped, yeah. Yeah, I've seen them. I've never
I was
used
trying
them.
to get into using those, but like it's like a one size fits most thing, and it clearly doesn't fit me. It's like always too big and like awkwardly fit. That's a whole other episode. But anyway, I feel like it would feel similar to that because of where it's sitting in the vaginal canal and the cervix.
Yeah.
I did try to have sex with one in because that's like part of the advertising is you can have sex on your period with this in because it just sits right underneath your cervix. It's not like a cup. It's not deep. It's like a shallow kind of disc that has like a plastic bag underneath it.
I've seen them.
That like gets filled with the blood.
Yeah.
But in theory, you can have sex with one of these in, but it doesn't didn't work as advertised.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
there's a
was
lot
like,
of things
I'm
that could
taking
go.
this out, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna go in the
that are
shower.
gonna go wrong.
Yeah. Shower
It's like
sex.
a murder.
Shower sex is just, it's always.
I mean, it's key with or without periods. Shower
Yeah.
sex is
No,
great.
true. Yeah.
So, a cervical cap has to be left in for 48 hours after sex.
Damn.
You can get pregnant anytime that you remove it, so it doesn't have any side effects or long-term effects.
That's so crazy. I didn't know you had to leave these in.
I know. It won't prevent STDs. It also increases the chance of bladder infections, and it is not
you forget
recommended.
about it.
Yeah, it's not recommended if you have sex 3 times a week or more, or have a history of recurrent infections. The sponge.
Oh God.
Typically, people use the sponge with spermicide. Spermicide contains a gel that kills sperm, typically on contact. A lot of times people use condoms with spermicide already on them, but you can also use spermicide on its own. The sponge is made of foam, works similarly to a diaphragm or cervical cap, but the sponge already contains some amount of spermicide, and typically you can buy it without a prescription. It is probably one of the least reliable forms of birth control.
And isn't spermicide really bad for the woman?
It's not like... not worse than birth control. I mean, it's just another medication. But yeah, it can change the pH of your vaginal canal.
Okay.
And if you're prone to having that happen, it's probably not the best idea. It sort of looks like an Altoid. Like, that's the shape of it, but it has a little divot on the inside.
Interesting.
And it's very squishy. It's about 2 inches in diameter, the sponge. It prevents pregnancy when used perfectly 90% of the time for women who have never given birth.
What?
That was like an anchor man. It works 90% of the time, every time.
That doesn't make any sense.
For people who have had children, it actually drops in efficacy and only works about 76% of the time.
Is that because of like the shape of your vaginal canal after giving birth,
Or the entrance to the cervix,
It's
or that spermicide
Whoa.
may not work. I don't know.
That's
why.
so
Actually, I know it's
crazy.
crazy. It feels like your vaginal tissue is what most people say. So it's not like, but it's also like 2 inches in diameter, and 2 inches is like
in a 4-inch hole?
right.
2
like
inches
2
is
inches
half
is like
of
my
it.
pinky.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, I've measured my pinky. My pinky is 2 inches.
right. Like that. So like a dick is gonna just get in there. Like that's a lot.
That's a
Like,
lot.
I have so many questions about why Mia
Measured her
measured her
pinky.
Because I was like, I need a quick unit of measurement for things.
She's all
Fair.
1,
Yes.
2 inches.
8 inches.
Well, if I'm like girl measuring something,
Girl measure.
like a
Girl
table
measure.
that I want to
Yeah.
put in my room,
Fair.
what am I going to do? I'm going to whip out my pinky.
Dude, every time we go,
measure it.
I feel like I should
For now
measure
on, I'm going to use Mia's pinky.
to measure things.
to
For
measure
now on,
Come measure this for me really quick. It's
Well,
like
Mia.
20 inches long.
I need 10 of your pinkies.
10.
Fuck.
10 pinkies. Spermicide is a chemical that you put inside the vaginal canal to kill or paralyze sperm. You can buy it over the counter. It includes gels, foams, and suppositories. Spermicide alone by itself fails about 30% of the time, but when used with condoms, diaphragms, cervical caps, and sponges, it increases the efficacy.
All at the same time?
No, you can.
I have to be like, fuck, you want to be.
Quadruple.
I do not want a baby.
Quadruple
I've
double
got a
up.
diaphragm and spermicide and a condom and
quadruple barrier. method.
quadruple
And I'm
Quad
pulling
bear.
out.
quad bear. It boosts the efficacy of the other items when used in conjunction with them. So there is a chemical called noxinol 9 that is in spermicide. That's what kills the sperm. Is
It's like a cool
it's
robot.
actually NONOXYNOL. No noxinol. No noxinol 9. No.
No.
When you use spermicide, you actually should not rinse out your vag
Oh shit.
for 8 to 10 hours
No.
after sex.
I feel like that's gonna create a UTI.
So I'm a big proponent of peeing after sex.
Yeah.
And an even bigger proponent
give it a
of
little rinse.
showering after
Yeah.
sex.
Sex is gross. I'm just saying, sex is like really dirty.
I'm a big proponent of shower before, shower after,
Yeah.
because if you shower
no,
before,
shower before, shower during, and shower
yeah,
after.
because if you shower before, you can do
All the things.
All of
anything
it.
really.
All
You really should, at a bare minimum, please wash your hands.
Yeah, no, that's very
Please
true.
wash your hands before.
Yeah,
If you're gonna be touching other people
Yeah.
in weird
you're like
places.
eating ribs, and you guys like, hey, go up.
Hey, girl.
Oh my God. Jesus. Fuck. I need a sad some. That is disgusting. Ugh.
Ew.
eating ribs, and then
Oh my God.
have like rib
Stop.
fingerprints
I
of
fucking
barbecue
can't.
on her hips because you're
Unless
like,
she likes that.
Hey, don't yucky yum.
yeah, don't yuck or yum.
Spermicide actually makes it higher likelihood that you will get an STI because if it irritates the
Wait, what?
inside, yeah, if it irritates the inside of the vaginal canal, it could actually cause more
pregnant?
tearing.
Have an STI.
Vaginal gel has a pH that increases in the vagina to, so the vagina already is like a war zone for.
She's acidic.
She's acidic.
Yeah.
And her job is to kill off the weak sperm. And she's like, no, fuck you. If you can't fucking make it through this, you can't make a baby.
Shooting,
Oh, yeah.
shooting them up.
The sperm come in and it's just like a wall of like turrets. Just after the sperm, just taking them out one by one. It's very acidic. And this
I recently
applicator
heard
gel,
something that like the egg actually chooses the sperm.
It does.
Like it used to be where
One
they just
chooses
thought
the
it was like
Terry.
the one that would get in there first, but they found out that
No.
the egg will actually go, nope,
She's like, wait, give me your resumes.
Yeah.
nope.
Pink resumes.
Form a single file line. I'm going to need to see everyone's DNA. Thank you so much. Spit into this tube real quick. Just spit right there. The vagina has a pH level that is already going to kill off bad sperm. So this vaginal gel actually increases that pH level. It's 86% effective, but when used with the other barrier methods we've mentioned, it boosts the effectiveness. It must be used before sex and reapplied every hour.
Jesus.
Every hour. Pause. Timer went off. Time to reapply.
That's why women are just like, give me the fucking pill, give me the implant, give me the
know,
new
right?
ring. So
I
fuck
know.
all of this.
I know.
It's like step 1,
Step
step
7.
2,
Step 58.
48 hours later.
Step
Okay, now you can take it
95,
out.
Right. So those are some of the barrier methods. There's also a newer option of non-hormonal birth control called Phexxi. It's a contraceptive gel that contains all natural ingredients, lactic acid, like we were talking about from the acai tree, citric acid and potassium bicarbonate. It's not a spermicide. You just insert the gel into the vagina like a tampon, keeps the vagina acidic and immobilizes sperm. Currently, the effectiveness is about 86%, but this is brand new, so I want everyone to just be aware of that. When we come back, we are going to talk about long-term forms of non-hormonal birth control, such as the copper IUD and sterilization, as well as family planning or natural methods of birth control. Join us on the other side.
Ozonu da deldik, dibine geldik. Kıyameti yakın, biz son verdik. Ozonu da deldik, dibine geldik. Kıyameti yakın, biz son verdik.
Is your bedroom getting boring? Does your sex life feel stale? Or are you just looking for a fun date night activity? Aria has got you covered. Aria's carefully cultivated, choose your own adventure box is like no subscription service you have ever encountered. You and your partner fill out a sexy questionnaire to help the intimacy experts tailor your boxes to your comfortability, range of sexual likes and dislikes, and create specialized scenes for both of you to enjoy. Each box is hand curated with high quality items to enhance your sexy scene and includes Spotify playlists, provides ideas for starting the scene, and encourages you to have boundaries, safe words, and aftercare. And throughout the process, your personal concierge will text you, email you, and get you excited for your sexy night in. Whether you're looking to increase your kink or just become closer to your partner, Aria has a scene for you. Visit aria.fyi.com and use our code WYP15 at checkout for 15% off your first 3 months and try on a new side of your sensual self. That's WYP15. Aria, your playful mentor for all things sexy. Welcome back, fellow humans. Interesting, I picked these songs. The one before break was just called Condom. It was by a German band, and they just kept saying condom in German. And this one is called Safe Sex is of the Highest... Safe Sex is of
the highest order.
the highest order.
Nice.
That's just an ambient... Hey! Mia found something interesting at the break, because of course she fucking did. About pH. You want to go ahead and tell us what you found?
Yeah. So pH is a scale ranging from 0 to 14. The most acidic being 0, which for example would be like battery acid.
Mm-hmm.
Neutral is 7. That would be like pure water. And basic would be the most basic. Basic bitch.
Basic
Basic
bitch.
bitch.
14. Oh my God. Never mind. Sorry. It would be like liquid drain cleaner, I guess. The typical pH of a vagina has a kind of a wide range, but generally is 3.8 to 5, which is definitely more on the acidic side.
Sure.
Yeah, when
For-
it's 5,
right.
that's kind of weird, right?
For comparison, that would be like a 3 is like orange juice.
Okay.
A 4 is like acid rain or tomato juice.
Okay.
And a
Acid
5 is like
rain.
black coffee. So
Okay.
that's kind of like the acidity level of a typical
Okay.
vagina.
And sperm, you said, is
More
relatively
alkaline.
Alkaline.
Yeah.
Which is
crazy.
why it dies in
Yeah.
the acidic environment.
And age can affect your pH. So like postmenopausal versus a childbearing woman
Yeah.
could have different pH.
More acidic versus less. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
So a lot of things can affect that. Like
yeah, a lot of things come
putting stuff inside of you, for example.
right? Inserting things.
Yeah.
I wanted
Lots.
to read you a letter from the 1920s. So there was an art installation called Unplanned Parenthood in Idaho at a university. And Idaho right now is under extremely conservative. Anybody who's listening from Idaho, I hope that something that we talk about helps you because
Yeah.
they have some of the strictest contraceptive laws. They are also proposing banning IUDs.
Oh boy.
As well as access to emergency contraception, and also making it not required for healthcare plans to offer birth control. And this person did an exhibit at an Idaho university, and the government of Idaho made them take it down. But it's letters that were written to Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger, for those of you who do not know, was an individual back in the 1900s, early 1900s, She formed Planned Parenthood. Now, there is some controversy around Margaret Sanger, so please know that I understand that. She definitely was into eugenics at the time,
Ooh.
which a lot of people were.
Yeah, that's
and
not-
she's got some
Right now, that's a scary
topic. So she's got some controversy, but she did form Planned Parenthood. And during the Comstock era, where the Comstock Act was an act that was put into place in the late 1800s that forbid any distribution of any contraceptions or any sexual material via the mail. So it restricted people from sending pornography. It restricted people from sending love letters. It restricted people from sending pamphlets about birth control in the mail. And so these women were writing Margaret Sanger at great cost and great risk to themselves. And I wanted to read one of these letters for you, just so you understand kind of where we're at today and where these women were at. This one was sent in 1923. I am the mother of 19 children. My baby is only 20 months old. I'm 43 and I would rather die than give birth to another child. My doctor doesn't give me any information, only tells me to be careful. This letter may sound unreasonable, but the records will show that it is true. I have 5 boys and 7 girls who are living. 2 daughters are married. One already has 4 children of her own. The other daughter has 5. I am in poor health. I need information for them as well as for myself. For my sake and the sake of humanity, please send me the proper information.
Jesus Christ.
Begging
Damn.
for information about birth control.
Yeah.
So this is why women would stick Lysol up their vaginas. This is why
They're like, no more, please.
this is why people perform abortions in back alleys. This is why we have a horrible reputation with birth control. It's why I'm doing this episode, is so that you understand all of the ways you can prevent pregnancy. So let's talk about long-term permanent forms of non-hormonal birth control. So if you would like to prevent against pregnancy for years or forever, here are a couple of different options. The copper IUD. So there's also a hormonal IUD, which we'll cover in the next Afternoon Delight. But the copper IUD is a T-shaped device, a T-shaped glued.
Hope somebody gets that.
I do too. It's about an inch or so long, and it is placed inside the uterus by a doctor. Getting an IUD must be done in office, and just recently they have finally, yay, decided to give us pain meds for this procedure, because for the longest time they just were like, there's no nerve endings up there. Fucking take an Advil and deal with it. But recently, because of so much research and backlash from the community of people getting IUDs, they were like, oh, it hurts? And it's like, no, I'm just passing out for fucking fun of it. Like, yes, it fucking
Why do you
hurts.
think pushing a child out of that
Hello? It
hurts
doesn't
so
feel
fucking
good.
much?
So yeah, they now will give you pain medication. My friend, actually, shout out to my friend. I'm going to say her now. I don't care. Shout out to Meredith. Recently got an IUD and they gave her pain meds, and she's like, this is great.
Yeah.
I didn't feel a fucking thing. I was like,
good for her.
what? I'm so jealous.
I watched you get yours put in,
Both of them.
pulled out, and then put in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah, I made
I've
him
heard
do
stories.
it. I made him sit in there with me. Just,
As you should. It's for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, no,
He was
I
all
was like
for it.
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
He held my hand the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great.
Ow.
I cried.
Yeah.
It was awful.
He was good though. Your
Yeah, he was
doctor, he was
super
like,
nice.
he's all, I got you. I
Yeah,
got you.
no, he was really good. A copper IUD, different from a hormonal IUD in that it contains no hormones. Whoa. It's literally just made of copper, and it is legitimately one of the most effective forms of birth control. It has a failure rate of less than 1%.
That's crazy.
Keep it away from those tweakers.
Hey, the copper.
Oh, God.
They're like, give me that copper.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
It is also.
I'm glad you guys got that.
I did. It
Thank
is
you.
also the only form of non-hormonal emergency contraception, which is why states like Idaho are trying to ban it. If you get a copper IUD implanted within 5 days of having unprotected sex, you can actually prevent the fertilization of an egg.
Whoa.
It does not abort a pregnancy that has already taken place, which is something that a lot of misinformed, misguided, and lying sacks of shit will fucking tell you.
Yeah.
Emergency contraception will not end a pregnancy that has already begun. If the sperm has met the egg and the egg has allowed the sperm to fertilize it, that is done. Emergency contraception does nothing for you. However, because sperm lives inside the body for up to 72 hours after an ejaculation, it can find an egg that drops down within that 72 hours. What we're doing is trying to keep the sperm away from the eggs, which is what any birth control is going to do in general. So it does not abort any fertilized egg. If you insert a copper IUD within 5 days of unprotected sex, you reduce the odds of getting pregnant by 99.9%.
Wow.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
And now you have birth control
Yeah.
in your body, and you don't have to worry about that in the future.
So it's preventing pregnancy just because it's in there and it's like in the way?
Because sperm hate copper.
Got
They have an
Oh.
aversion to copper. They will swim the fuck away from the copper. They
Wow,
will not
that is
go near
crazy.
it. Yeah,
How did they discover that?
research.
so-
I don't know.
that's
'Cause-
so
'cause
wild.
sperm-
Women putting
sperm are
odd
not
stuff
like
I have an idea.
alligator
Women-
shit in their vaginas.
What if? What if I put this penny up there?
What if I put a lucky
Yeah.
penny in my vag? Let's
I
go.
Maybe that's why
guarantee
they're
you that's what it
lucky.
would. Yeah.
Abe Lincoln.
He's
That's
all.
why they're
He's
so
all. Here you go,
small.
kid.
Lincoln protected.
Oh my god.
IUDs are among the safest, most effective, and least expensive reversible contraceptives out there. The only drawback is that for some people, the copper IUD can make your periods heavier and your cramps more intense. So that's some people have that
Yeah.
side effect. Sterilization. And that's a really scary word, but it is a permanent form of birth control, and it can be done to anyone who has reproductive organs. So if you have tubes, fallopian tubes,
Tubes.
you can get a tubal ligation. And this is where a doctor is going to cauterize your fallopian tubes and tie off the ends, kind of like a balloon animal.
Wow. I
Making
wish
a
I
dog
had.
in there. Can you make mine like a sword or something? Like a
Can I
little
have a
flower?
unicorn?
Oh my god.
Can you make me a bicycle?
Make me a bicycle clown.
Here you go, you fucking
I'm
hyena.
going to make you a bicycle,
Wait.
but I'm not happy about it. Here you go, you fucking hyena.
There you go. Thank you.
Oh my God.
God, I hope other people get that.
I really do. It's very important
Mia?
that you
I
understand.
don't get that.
No.
You'll fill me in later. You'll fill me in later.
It's fine.
That's okay. We probably didn't do a good delivery.
It's fine. Female sterilization or tubal ligation is 99% effective and a long-term option. The procedure is more invasive than male sterilization. Usually the person has to be put to sleep. They have to actually go into the internal organs because our tubes are on the inside of our body, if you didn't fucking know that. It blocks the fallopian tubes by sealing them off using cauterization. So you still ovulate
How is it only 99?
because nothing is 100% effective.
But if you're like, if you're closing that bridge.
So there have been people where the tubes have found one another and fused back together.
Whoa.
very
They're like,
few.
we have to be together.
I will find you and I will drop an egg. So basically, you're still ovulating, you're still having a period, but you are not having that egg travel down the fallopian tube, and sperm can still travel up the cauterized tube, but they will end at the cauterization and will not jump to the other
Right. Yeah, I'm like, how do they get over there though?
They don't. No, they're
That's
not going
crazy.
to. The procedure is sometimes called getting your tubes tied. So if that's something that you've heard before, that is what that is. It is not effective immediately. You need to have something called a hysterosalpingogram. Performed 3 months later to confirm that the sterilization or the tubal ligation has worked. So it is important to use other contraceptives for at least 3 months until you have that other. It's basically just them checking to see that the tubes have not fused back together.
Got it.
Cecily, my sister, has a tubal ligation, and literally the second episode of What's Your Position is her talking about her tubal ligation.
Go listen to that episode.
Please do. Interestingly enough, Cecily was 30 when she got her tubal ligation. She was not allowed to get it prior to that. Her doctor said she couldn't get it when she wanted it, which was at the age of 25. They told her she needed to wait till she was 30. And then when she got it, they required that her husband sign off to get the procedure done.
Wow. That's insane.
This is something that is commonplace among a lot of individuals who tell the story of themselves getting a tubal ligation, is that they had to ask permission from their partner, or the doctors are asking them, is your partner aware that you're doing this? Does your husband approve of this? Even when people are not like, don't have a partner, don't have a husband.
Yeah.
Surgical sterilization can cost up to $1,500 out of pocket if you don't have insurance. Rarely ever is tubal ligation covered under insurance. So almost always you will have to pay out of pocket for a tubal ligation. Oddly enough, vasectomies, which is what we're going to talk about next, are almost always covered by insurance, at least up to a certain percentage based on what your deductible is.
Mm-hmm.
Vasectomies are the process by which a doctor cuts the vas deferens in the testicle.
Mm-hmm.
The vas deferens is the tube in the testicle where the sperm and semen meet in the seminal vesicle and the vas deferens, and semen will still be released after a vasectomy. So you will still be able to jack off and have an ejaculation after a vasectomy. You just don't have any little swimmers in there. The vas deferens is closed, and you no longer produce sperm. Now you're still making sperm in your body. They just can't get past the cut part of the vas deferens. A vasectomy is not as invasive as a tubal ligation, where individuals who get tubal ligations are under general anesthesia. They don't typically have to stay the night in the doctor's, like the hospital. They can usually do it an outpatient, but they definitely are going to have to take time off of work in order to recover from a tubal ligation, because it is more invasive and they're actually like going into your stomach and cutting parts of your body and using general anesthesia, which can make you groggy. For a vasectomy, this can be done outpatient and you can go back to work the same day. Typically, they just use local anesthesia on the testicles, and they are able to have the individual. Some individuals can physically function and go back to work the same day. Dang. Some individuals don't feel that great. Typically will take the day off, but can go back to work the next day. They just ask that you do not ejaculate for 2 to 4 weeks after the...
Oh, that sounds awful.
I'm so sorry to put you in such a bind. But yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable is what they're saying. Oh, you poor guy. You will be asked to provide a sample of your ejaculate between 8 and 16 weeks after to make sure that there are no little swimmers left. Physiologically, there are no changes to sex drive, hormone levels, or amount of ejaculate that comes out.
Wow.
After a vasectomy. It is highly effective, it is long-term, and it is super quick. It is also permanent. That can be a con for some people. Now, there is the opportunity for some men to get vasectomies reversed. It just depends on how old you are at the time of the surgery, and then how old you are when you want it reversed. But that is a possibility. There is some research to show that the effectiveness of reversing it kind of goes down by about 30%. But in today's climate, if that's something that you're interested in, not getting anyone pregnant for the next 5 to 10 years, you could consider a vasectomy and then consider getting it reversed later. But that is something you would need to talk to a doctor about. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about some family planning methods, is what I guess you could call them.
Okay.
The pull-out method, which I don't recommend to anyone. But funny enough, I asked the WI peeps what their common birth control method is, and 2 people responded with good old-fashioned pull-out. And I was like, no.
I mean, hey, if I'm like doubling up, I'm like pull-out and birth control, like...
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, you could. No, that's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Hormonal birth control.
Yeah. So the pull-out method...
That's got to be even a couple
Don't get
more
that
ticks.
shit near me. Yeah.
A couple more ticks
that
up.
shit.
Yeah.
No.
So it's been around forever. That's basically like what people used back in the day, other than crocodile shit. But just because it's the oldest doesn't mean it's the best. When it comes to failure rate, it is only about 60% effective.
Because you can still get pregnant from pre-cum.
Correct. Yeah.
Hello?
So pre-cum is the fluid that comes out of the tip of a penis. It's come from the Cowper's gland. Just the tip. The Cowper's gland releases a fluid during arousal, and that fluid pushes any extraneous urine or extra leftover semen out of the penis because anything can be left behind, and they want to make sure that they give the clearest and cleanest possible path for the new ejaculate to get through. So the Cowper's fluid is cleaning house before a person ejaculates, but unfortunately, because semen lives for 3 days, if you have ejaculated in the last 3 days and you're like, odds are you have.
You probably did.
So the Cowper's fluid is going to contain live sperm. So it can get a person pregnant and it can give a person an STI. So making sure that you are wearing a condom is imperative, or making sure that the pre-cum, you can't really make sure of that. It can come out at any time. The pull-out method is when you pull the penis out of the vagina before you ejaculate. I would love for you to talk about how tricky that timing is.
About
pulling out right before you come.
it's not for me. I'm very aware of it's like very hard to get me to that point anyways, and I've always thought like in moments where I've had to do that, where I'm like, I can almost tell there'd be no way that any cum came out.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's my body and the way it works. So I'm sure, and I'm sure when I was younger, it would have been different. But I'm sure, some people just, happened.
Would you rather use a condom or pull out?
I'd rather wear a condom for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather pull out because that's better for me and my partner.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was really trying to prevent pregnancy, it would definitely be condom.
Yeah. So pull-out method is hard for a lot of people, pun intended, because there is something called the point of no return in male ejaculate where they get to orgasm and it's go time. They don't have control anymore over the muscles in their body.
I think probably the younger you are.
Yeah. Right.
Because you become more of the master of your body the older you get.
Masturbator. Where's that sound bite?
I know.
Oh, God.
Ching. Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. Pull-out method is free, so that's a pro. Con, hard to time and extremely not effective. Another method is using using breastfeeding as birth control.
What?
Oh, yeah. This is done a lot in...
Oh, yeah. A lot of other cultures do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. Big time. Big time. The longer you breastfeed, if you continue to breastfeed for most people, you can you can breastfeed forever.
This requires you to have had a child.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
But when people were having 19 children, like poor, Mags over there that I just read about, if you continue to breastfeed and you can continue to lactate, it actually does create lactatoneal amenorrhea, which is basically your period stops because you're breastfeeding, because your body knows
you can't get pregnant again.
Right. So your body's like, oh, you're breastfeeding?
Right.
Let's not force you to give birth again.
Right.
Even our own bodies don't want to force us to give birth. Yet white men in Congress do. It's hilarious. People who have just given birth and are breastfeeding full time can use LAM, or lactational amenorrhea. Basically, when you are feeding up to 4 hours during the day, and then the gaps can't be any longer than 4 hours during the day or 6 hours at night. So the longer the gaps between breastfeeding or pumping, the less likely this is going to be effective. Because once your body's like, are you done breastfeeding? Are you weaning the baby off? It starts to build up that uterine lining again, and you start to have a period again. Following these guidelines, you can use breastfeeding as contraception for up to 6 months. Using this way, breastfeeding is 98% effective at preventing pregnancy.
Wow.
Breastfeeding naturally stops your body from ovulating, meaning you're not fertile during this window. Keep in mind, this is only temporary, and they say it starts to go down after about 6 months. Due to the way the cycle, the menstrual cycle works, you'll ovulate as soon as you get your first period back. It's free. It's convenient if you're already breastfeeding. It requires daily dedication, only works for a short period of time, are some of the cons. We also have, I wanted to give you another one, which is natural cycles. Fertility awareness-based methods, also the rhythm method is what this is. Fertility awareness is a broad category that includes a range of family planning methods, calendars, temperature, basal method. You really need to know your body to use these methods. And you need to be regular. Your period needs to be like on a fucking clock.
This requires like tracking your cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
And we should be able to set like a clock to you. That's how regular you pretty much need to be. These methods rely on getting to know when you are going to be fertile. So if we look at the standard days method, it requires that you abstain from sex from days 8 to 19 of your menstrual cycle. The standard days method requires users to practice this method for at least 3 months before it can be relied on as a birth control. Wow. It is 88% effective. One of the main reasons people choose to use these sorts of methods is because they offer a natural way to not get pregnant. They don't involve any procedures of any kind. They don't involve putting anything in your body, copper, spermicide, chemicals, but they require daily dedication and knowledge. If you choose to measure cervical mucus as your fertility indicates, that means you need to get used to knowing what your mucus or your discharge looks like during the days that you're ovulating. So you can use an ovulation tester, which looks like a pregnancy test, but you pee on a stick and it tells you if you're ovulating. People use this who want to get pregnant. They'll use these ovulation testers to be like, I'm ovulating, let's fuck. But you can use the ovulation method to actually test what your cervical mucus or your discharge looks like, because then you can test your discharge every single day and be like, let me just put this schmear on a little sheet here, and I'm going to look at the schmear, and the schmear looks like this. I must be ovulating. And then you don't have sex during that time. No prescription needed, non-invasive, no side effects. It's like a 6-month monitoring period, though. Right. Like for you to know what your period is like.
You got to be on top of
it. It requires that you do something every day.
Yeah.
You're sticking your fingers in your vag and you're checking your discharge on a daily basis. You're also really paying attention to your window of ovulation.
Right. Spontaneous sex is a no.
You're not having spontaneous sex. And you're not, as you need a partner who's on board with this, right? Somebody who's not going to say, I don't give a shit that you're ovulating, we're fucking. Like, you need a partner who's on board. Yeah. It also means that if you are not partnered and you are single and you are really into someone and you're getting hot and heavy, you have to pull back from that if you are in your ovulation window. So there are, and I don't even want to mention this, well, I will, because I'm going to tell you not to use it. So there are some apps that are designed to track your cycle and your period. However, I would highly recommend one human who ovulates to another that you don't use these.
And if you have one, maybe consider
just delete it.
Getting rid of it.
Maybe just get rid of it. The reason that I say this is because under the current administration, recently, the Natural Cycles app has started asking what state you're in. Yeah. It has never asked that before. Users, when they opened it on January 12th, said they had been asked a question about what state they were in. And there has been whisperings and murmurings of specific parts of government tracking the ovulation cycles of women. And using that against them in court cases, in proceedings dealing with abortions or orderings or use of mifepristol, the medication that can help with a miscarriage or induce spontaneous abortion. These apps, like any other app, can track your data. And I'm not trying to sound at all like a conspiracy theorist. I am saying monitor what you are putting into the world right now. and know
Into the cyberspace.
that
yeah.
it's being watched. The internet is archived. The internet knows all. The internet tracks all. Use a calendar.
I actually, so I wanted to start tracking my period when I switched to the birth control that I'm currently on, because it was really like out of whack for a while. It's like finally normalized, but I was like, well, I'm not going to use an app because I just don't want to put it on the interwebs like that.
Yeah.
So I just got a tiny little calendar. It's probably the size of my hand, like from palm to fingertips, and I just keep it in my purse, and every time I start having any kind of bleeding, I just make a little note in there.
And then if you need to, fucking burn that thing.
Burn the book.
Exactly.
Burn it.
It's paper. It will
Yeah.
burn.
It will burn. So I hope that this afternoon delight brought about some interesting ideas that maybe you've never heard of before. These were all non-hormonal forms of birth control.
I just feel like you missed a big one.
What?
Butt stuff. Butt
Also, like same-sex relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Same-sex relationships, absolutely. What I'm talking about typically is how to avoid getting pregnant when you're having vaginal penetration.
Yeah. I just wanted to be an asshole.
That's what this was about, right? So this is about having sex with the possibility of getting pregnant.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Abstinence. Yeah, sure. You're not getting fucking pregnant. Butt sex, you're not fucking getting pregnant. Peruvians understood this. The Peruvian culture, hundreds of thousands of years ago, knew that, not hundreds of thousands of years ago, knew that butt stuff meant no pregnancy. And there's a bunch of shrines to butt stuff that got broken
Hell yeah.
during the, it's the mochi.
Definitely
The mochi.
Peruvian descent.
I know, love them. And yeah, same-sex relationships, best birth control that you could possibly have. But if you are fucking with a penis and a Venus, then know that you can possibly get a baby penis or a Venus. So these are methods for those individuals. In our next Afternoon Delight, we are going to cover all forms of hormonal birth controls. I hope you join us in that episode. We love you so fucking much. Check us out on What's Your Position podcast on Instagram. We also have a website, what'syourpositionpodcast.com. Shoot us an email. Tell us how we're doing. Send us a message. We love you so fucking much, WY peeps. Stay safe, stay kind, and stay fucking sexy.
They call her name at 7:30. I pace around the parking lot. And I walk down to buy her flowers and sell some gifts that I got. Can't you see? It's not me you're dying for. Now she's feeling more alone.
What's Your Position podcast represents the opinions of Ashley Weller and her guests. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is intended for education and entertainment purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of error. Stay safe, stay kind, and stay sexy.